you're hitting the core of that right now.
To me, it's obedience too. And it's like, we can make obedience and doing what we're supposed to do, what we know we should do. We can make it drudgery, or we can make it fun.
Yeah, right. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Pastor and Wife podcast.
We welcome you to hang out with us today.
I'm Hansel.
I'm Natalie.
Okay, we are talking about how faith can save overwhelmed moms from burnout.
I know a lot about this.
Yeah?
I have a lot of personal experience with this one.
All right. So is it true?
Yeah, when you gave me this topic, what we're really talking about here is making time to, at the least, maintain your faith, but ideally to grow your faith.
Oh, yeah.
And it's actually all these little things that you do to make time and make routine in your life as a busy mom to enable you to grow in your faith, but it also has a lot of really good side effects that also help with burnout.
Okay. All right. So where do you start?
I want to focus a lot about like the daily things, like the daily routines, because it's really key to setting ourselves up for success.
Okay. All right.
And I was reading this morning, you can read the verse.
Okay.
I mentioned it to you before. So it's, and it perfectly lines up. I love when God does this. Romans 2, where he's talking to the Jews about, if you know so much, then why don't you, stop judging the Gentiles who don't know as much as you. And if you're so good as to, okay. So just read the verse.
Okay. All right.
Or verses.
I'm going to start with verse 19.
Okay.
So it's verse 21, but I'm going to start with verse 19. It says, if you are convinced that you are a guide for the blind, a light for those who are in the dark, an instructor of the foolish, a teacher of little children, moms do that a lot.
Yeah.
Because you have in the law the embodiment of knowledge and truth, you then who teach others, do you not teach yourselves?
Do you not teach yourselves?
Ah, okay. That makes sense.
So this really got to me because, I think of like when you teach others, that light bulb goes on because, I literally teach my kids, because I'm a homeschool mom. Even if you don't, like we're training our kids, we're raising our children. And do we not teach ourselves? Do we not instruct ourselves? And what we instruct our children?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, put the oxygen mask on yourself before you help your children, kind of a thing. Like if you don't instruct yourself, if you don't grow in your faith and prioritize your own growth, then you have nothing to model to your children, because modeling is like one of the best ways to teach kids. And even if you're not teaching them at home, you need to be modeling to them your own spiritual growth.
Yeah.
So that they'll learn. And it's kind of like learning is a lifelong thing. That's what we teach our kids in homeschooling, is just to love learning.
Yes.
Because we never stop learning.
Yeah. I think that's a good point because, as a pastor, people have suggestions on what I should teach.
Yes. I just got a suggestion today about what to teach the kids in Sunday school.
Yeah. So, that's a good example. So a lot of parents would want the pastors or the children's pastor to teach about obeying parents.
Yes.
Right?
How did you know that's what it was?
It's a common one.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
My response is, okay, that's a good thing to teach. Absolutely.
Yes.
Train up a child as he should go, and when he gets old, he will not depart from it. But modeling is actually a better teacher than the hour or 2 hours in Sunday school.
Yeah.
So I asked them first, do you obey your parents? If not, why? And there's some legitimate reasons why. Maybe they're not believers or whatnot. And if they are believers, I ask them, well, okay, Do you model following your Father in heaven?
Yes. That
Right.
was my. How do you're like reading my thoughts?
Oh.
I swear you are. Just a few minutes
Prophetic.
ago, this was in my head.
Okay. All right.
Yes, exactly.
Because kids learn by watching you, not necessarily by what you say. Now, by what you say reinforces
Yeah.
them observing you, but they primarily watch you and learn. It's like that saying, like, the world doesn't read their Bibles, but they read their Christians. So we have to have a good example of modeling. That's true.
So everyone who's homeschooled for a short amount of time has heard about Charlotte Mason. And Charlotte Mason was she wasn't actually a mother or homeschool mom, but she was a great educator and she knew children and she wrote lots and lots of books and lots of training about how to teach children.
Yeah.
And she talks about really practical things about how to schedule your day
Yeah.
to so that you as a mom can grow. So she was a firm believer in, and even if you don't homeschool your kids, it still applies to everyone.
Yeah.
She's a firm believer in, once you become a mother, you shouldn't neglect your own growth and just put all your time and efforts into growing your children. That's not going to benefit them if, you're not working on yourself too.
That's very good.
So she tells ways to kind of pair things and group things. So just really practically, if you drink coffee in the morning, you put your Bible and your journal and your pen there. So like everything's like already there. Like, don't make it hard on yourself.
Okay. All right.
So like you're making your coffee, then you just get everything and you go to the couch. Now I don't do this practice for some reason. Like I've hated quiet times, especially in the morning. As a mother, we're in like lots of different seasons. So like in the infant season, it's like, this is not practical. But I mean, that's just one example of like how to pair something. But another thing you can do is like, make sure when you eat lunch, you can read 15 minutes while you're eating.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
All right.
The thing that I do is I've begun to listen to audiobooks and the Bible audio when I wash dishes in the morning.
Yeah.
So these are just things that, you can kind of pair things together even when you're teaching your kids. When you're eating breakfast, you can read them a little devotional at the same time. So it's like, we do have a lot of things to do in a day. So like, how do we make it all fit? Well, we just like pair things together and kind of like multitask. And these are a couple things where you can start.
Okay. I like the practical things because then anyone can try them, even if they fail, they can try again the next day, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That's really good.
But I think if, another good thing to talk about is that if you try to copy someone else and what they do, or like someone who, people tell you just look at a person who does the thing that you like. You want to be like them. So try to do what they do.
Yeah.
Sometimes this is not always really helpful.
Okay.
Because like you want to get in shape. So you admire this person who does CrossFit or whatever.
Sure.
So you like try to do the workouts every day. Well, like you're going to fail.
Yeah.
If your life is not set up to have time for this like long workout and the eating the protein after and the shower and all that stuff.
Okay.
So you have to do what's attainable for you. Just do something and just start somewhere.
Okay.
And don't try to make it this big thing. Like as moms and as people, sometimes we make all these rules for ourselves. Like, well, yeah, doing CrossFit every day is good for you. That would get you, that would do it. That would get you in shape.
Yeah, of course.
Like doing all these big things, and having all this glorious like schedule with all the times, that would be good. But sometimes that's not really attainable when you're starting out. Sometimes that doesn't fit your life if you have infants or young children or you work, whatever.
Okay.
So look at your life and just try to create systems and like routines that are manageable for you, so you can just start to do something, even if it's small.
Okay, so you're saying don't climb Mount Everest before you tackle the hill behind your house.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, I just thought of that because my group got accepted to climb Mount Whitney, which
Yeah.
is the highest point in the lower 48 in October. And so we're beginning to train. So as a mom, training is part of cultivating your faith, right?
Yeah. I mean, we know how to train our children.
Yeah.
We should be able to use that, implement those things for ourselves too.
Okay, yeah. That's smart. That's really good. So what are the pitfalls, though? How do moms get into this rut where I see it as a vicious cycle where they get so busy, they start having kids, homeschooling, activities, and then they forget about themselves in terms of cultivating and nurturing their faith. So it's like, oh, too busy, no time with God. Too busy, less time with God. And then till there's zero time with God, then burnout.
Yeah. Like, it's really easy to do that, and especially when you read all these things on social media, or I don't know, you just like have friends that do things that you really like and you really would like to have for yourself and you would like to do and practice in your own life. You have to go to God for what you need for your family
Good point.
and what you need for yourself, and to begin to be really intentional about prioritizing those things. So, I mean, we hear it all the time, just don't compare. Comparison is a thief of joy, all this stuff. But you will not be like your friend or the mom that you really admire. You just won't be like
okay.
that. You have to just ask God. You have to look at your life and just to know like what God has for your life and has for your family. You have unique challenges. You have a unique personality. You're at a unique stage in life. If you have older ones, your life is going to look completely different than the younger ones.
Right.
If you have kids, it's going to look completely different than if you don't. If you work, if you're an introvert, it's going to look different for those who are extroverts. If your children struggle with sibling relationships, what you do in your family is going to look different than the activities in someone else's family. If you have a child with special needs, it's going to be totally different.
Yes.
If you're in ministry, it's going to be different.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be crazy.
Life is crazy for everyone.
Right.
So, like, don't make it like someone else's. Just you and God talk about crafting your life, and in a way that will, where you can prioritize your own growth and your kids' growth, and just focusing on the things that will meet their needs and that will meet your needs. And if it's a season, there are seasons for things, like I said before. If it's a season where, you're feeling burned out and you need to take a step back and start saying no to things, then that's what you need to start doing. Just have a quiet winter season, even if it's summer.
All right. Hibernation.
Yes, hibernate.
Okay.
If you're, and I'm in the season where my youngest is not an infant anymore. And it's like after the potty training thing. And it's like, okay, now I have a toddler, but he's not like babyish anymore.
Yeah.
So I have to change. I felt really uncomfortable for a while and really dissatisfied in the things that I was doing because I was still stuck in like the infant habits.
Okay.
Where like I don't have that time where I can just, have a quiet time. And I was doing like the 5-minute like Bible ring, whatever.
Okay.
And so I went through this transition of like, all right, I've got to pare down and look at what I need and look at my kids' needs and figure out ways where I can really begin to focus on my my personal growth.
Okay.
You start to feel deficiencies in your life, and you have to learn to recognize the season that you're in and to make the appropriate changes.
Okay. Well, that's a tall order for some people, but I think you're making it really practical. How do you not compare yourself if you have a goal, though?
What do you mean?
So, like with any endeavor, sometimes comparing your progress with somebody else's achievement actually gives you a goal.
Yeah. So I have a testimony about that.
Okay.
When we first got married, we lived in an apartment with a dishwasher.
Yeah.
And we kind of like both did dishes or whatever. And we didn't have kids either. And then when we moved here, we had a house not connected to anyone else. We had a big yard, but no garage and no dishwasher.
Right.
So we're like, all right, let's weigh it out.
It's an old house.
It's cute. It's so cute, but it's old. So that we're like, okay, that's fine. But like the dishes were my like most loathsome chore, and I just dreaded it, and I put it off, and I would put it off, and I would try to ask you to do it, and you hate it too.
Yeah.
So I was like, I hate this, and I'm so unhappy. And it's like you're just stuck, right? And this, this vicious cycle that you were talking about. And we went to visit on a mission trip to Alaska.
Yeah.
To visit my sister and her husband's church, and then my and her in-laws' church.
Oh yeah.
I think we did like a conference or something.
That was cool.
And we stayed with my
Healing
sister's
conference.
in-laws. Yeah, so we stayed with them. Now, my sister's mother-in-law, kind of like an aunt to me. Like, we're close, too. Our families are close. And I watched how she would host people in her home. And she's like the most laid-back, just like easygoing, strong woman. She hosted like 15 of us or something.
Yeah.
And she made a meal for all of us. And after the meal, she's like, everyone, put your dishes in the dishwasher. And she wiped the table. She cleaned the pot. She put everything back in the fridge. She made some popcorn, and she sat down and she watched a movie with everyone. Yeah. And I was like, everything looks pristine. We just had like 12 people eat here. Yeah. And she had this like calm, gentle, just joyful attitude.
Yeah.
And I was like, and then she sat down and she relaxed with us. I'm like, this is like, I'm not used to this.
Yeah.
My mom was like, we got to get it all done.
Yeah.
And then she was exhausted, not to blame her because like, anyway, but she's an amazing mom, but just a different perspective. And I was like, I want that. And I was so dissatisfied. The thing was I just made the choice. Like, I want that.
Yeah.
I don't want this junk anymore where I like dread doing the daily things that I have to do. It's not a fun place to be. So I was discontent enough with myself. And I just like put on her attitude.
Oh.
Like, I want that. I'm going to take it.
Come on.
And you know what? The next day it was like completely different. This was literally like a decision that I made, and God did the work, and I put on this new attitude, and I was like, I'm going to be like that. And it changed everything.
Shout out to Molly Sloan from Alaska.
Yeah.
We give credit where credit is due.
Yeah. So, I mean, the Bible talks a lot about putting on, put on the full armor of God, putting on spiritual things. And that's literally what I did. And it's like, it's not always like that.
Yeah.
But for me, I start to get like, my process is usually I start to get so disgusted with myself and like, I don't want this anymore, and so uncomfortable that I'm just like, this is not who I want to be. Yeah. And then I just glean from someone who, it really helps, have good friends, to just glean from, other women in my life who I admire. And in that way, it is kind of, I made it my own. Like, that was my goal, to have her attitude, about doing these daily things that we need to do that seem like it's such a chore. And But what I did was I made it my personal time.
Yeah.
I would pray, I would just process and think. And then I began to, I started with the Audible books, the audio books and stuff, which I don't know why I was so hesitant to do that. But a couple of people in my life were like, you need to try it. And it's so, so helpful. It just becomes a productive time. And because sometimes you feel like I'm just sitting there and I'm just doing one task and I feel like there's so many other things to do. So do something else at the same time, make it productive, make it a special time, make it a positive experience. That you can do that with so many things, so many daily chores in your life.
Yeah. I mean, it's like a lot of things, I guess, because a lot of people understand like working out, like you said. I ran a half marathon, and running is not my favorite thing. In fact, I hate it. It's like, oh, I'm running around the block or, running a mile or two as fast as I can or running as long as I can. And it's boring. It's arduous. But I think the advantage we have as Christians is that we can do things that people don't like doing because we have the joy of the Lord.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. Like, come to think about all the missionaries that came before us, the martyrs and different things like that. People who don't have knowledge, they see it as, oh, they're just doormats or they just, aren't taking control of their lives and letting things happen to them. But if you see the results centuries later, where it's the Christian ethic that built Western civilization and all the laws that we enjoy that protect rights. It all came from those people centuries ago, thousands of years ago, that stood firm to the joy of the Lord despite the circumstances. And I think you're hitting the core of that right now.
To me, it's obedience too. And it's like, we can make obedience and doing what we're supposed to do, what we know we should do. We can make it drudgery, or we can make it fun.
Yeah, right.
There's so many other things I'm thinking I need to apply this to other parts of my life too, but one step at a time. Like I never would have thought that I wouldn't mind doing dishes every single day. And it's become, I just feel so energized. It's become part of my routine. I look forward to it.
Yeah.
Never in my life would I ever have thought that. Because I've made it something my own, and I've made it a time with God. I've made it something positive and productive, and you can carry that into all parts of your life.
Yeah. You remind me of Brother Lawrence.
Yeah.
If you guys don't know, Brother Lawrence
I'm not sure I'm to that level yet.
Yeah. If you don't know who he is, he's a monk, that his job was to clean up the place.
The kitchen.
The kitchen.
Yeah.
And long story short, this was a long time ago, but the principle still applies. He did what you did. He put on the attitude of gratefulness, joy, doing the most mundane things, and the glory of the Lord would rest upon him. And people would travel from around the world to watch him wash dishes.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Because they would just feel the presence of God so strongly as he was washing dishes.
Yes.
This is possible. It truly is. It's possible to go through life, the drudgery of life, and to worship God with the things that you do.
Yeah. And what a better model to children. Because when they get out of the house, they're going to have to do things they don't want to do in order to live, in order to be successful. And it's just something special that we Christians have that we can draw upon the Lord himself. So what do you think, what's the next step once a mom tries to do these things you're talking about? Let's say this new mom or this mom that's just trying these things out for the first time. She's trying it, but she's struggling to be consistent because I'm sure consistency matters here.
Yeah. Consistency
Yeah.
is really important to me. It's really natural to me. So sometimes it's hard for me to kind of break it down, but I think I would just say one step at a time.
Okay.
I tackled dishes because it was like my worst. And I'm like, I've got to change this.
Yeah.
And so pick one thing. Don't try to tackle everything, I would say. And kind of gain victory in one area. And then for me, kind of building a routine helps just so it becomes habit. And finding ways to make that enjoyable and doing things in a way that that is attainable for you and your lifestyle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Does that make sense? Does that help?
Yeah. That makes sense. When you try to do these things that are immensely important, a lot of times we want a formula.
Yeah.
But everyone's different, right?
You can make your own formula.
Yeah.
I know that I'm really forgetful, and if I don't make reminders, then I will forget. So I have lots of reminders on my phone.
Okay.
That's one thing that might be helpful for some people too.
Hey, that's good. Technology.
Yes. Use what you have.
Yeah, this reminds me of trying to figure out how to get the right shoes for the activity. Like, I hate picking shoes because, you never know till you use them.
Yeah, and you have to like spend the money
Yeah.
and try them out.
Yeah, especially if it's a physical activity. Sometimes you can't return the shoes because you used them up, know. And so I guess people have to do the trial and error thing. Yeah,
and it's the same. The number one hardest thing in homeschooling is how to choose curriculum and where to start. It's like the same thing.
Oh, okay.
And you have to invest in okay, let's try this. You just got to dive in and just try something, do something.
Right.
And figure out what doesn't work and what does work.
Yeah.
And be willing to make mistakes.
That's it. All I know is for running on cement or asphalt, Brooks shoes works the best for me.
Right. You have kind of weird feet too, so
yeah, wide feet with no heel. I'm a mutant, but you know what I mean. And then for hiking, I still don't have the best because you could be going through snow or it could be rocky or sandy, slippery. So I just use different shoes. So does that translate into these routines you have so that moms won't be overwhelmed?
Yeah, I'm the kind of person that likes to do all the research. I could research myself to death and just not ever do anything.
Yeah.
And so you do need to just let it be messy.
Okay.
And just to dive in and just try something that someone else has tried.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll keep some things and then throw some things away and, try something else. But you really have to dive in and let it be messy and make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And, what I've learned is it has to work for my kid. It could be this really amazing curriculum that I really like.
Okay.
But does it work for my kid and is it easy for me to teach?
Right.
So I don't use the best curriculum.
Okay.
I don't use the highest tier, cost of course is one reason, but
okay.
But it has to be enjoyable.
Yeah.
That I really like this history curriculum, and the kids just weren't really into it.
Okay.
And it kind of was a lot of work for me, and I wasn't doing a lot of the things, and it made me feel uncomfortable. So I do this thing, this other one that's just kind of open and go. That's the style that I know I can do. I can just read in the page. I have multiple kids that I'm homeschooling, and people say, oh, the easiest thing is just to choose a curriculum that you can teach all at once.
Okay.
The group stuff, and just give them different activities. And that doesn't work for me.
Okay. Yeah.
That's not the easiest way for me.
I can see that.
Even though people say that should be,
Yeah.
So, just try stuff and don't be afraid to do something that other people say doesn't work for them.
Yeah.
Or does work for them, and
Right.
it doesn't. Just do what works.
Okay. All
Don't
right.
judge yourself.
So it seems like moms really have to have the courage just to try things.
Yeah.
Because like a lot of people don't know, I'm like one of the people that, man, I hate getting things wrong. But there are just some things that you have to try to see what's wrong, what's right for that certain situation or person, you know. And it's kind of crazy how, you know, the Lord has taught me to be courageous in failure. Right? Like, don't beat yourself up if you fail because you're just learning. I remember a wise man told me, you know, you ever played piano? And I go, yeah, I'm Asian, so my parents made me play piano when I was a kid. But they said, well, when you sat down to play a piece, did you get the whole thing perfect on your first try? Or was it many tries till you got it perfect? And I said, many.
Of course.
So why don't you feel bad about that, but you feel bad about other things in your life that you're trying to achieve? I go, oh, you're right. So we should tell moms not to beat themselves up.
Yeah. You remind me a lot of Orion sometimes.
Me? Okay.
Yes. He's really hard on himself too. He's not even a firstborn. I don't know where
Yeah.
it comes from.
I know.
Yeah.
So now let's say a mom has the routine going and things are flowing, feeling better because now you're empowered by the Lord and he's talking to you, you're talking to him. So how do we take advantage of that?
Well, when that happens, that's usually the point at which it has to change again.
Oh, okay.
So,
All right.
yeah, I mean, it's always changing.
Okay.
That's the thing. I mean, don't you think that's the thing about parenting?
Yeah.
Is that once you feel like you got a good rhythm for your family, and then the kids grow older and reach this other stage, or something, job changes or whatever, and then you have to go back to the drawing board and change everything.
Okay.
But you have to recognize, it's okay to change.
Yeah.
You have to recognize like when something's not working and not to keep pushing it if it's not working anymore.
Yeah. So you just keep evolving, so to speak, right? Not that we believe in Darwinian evolution, but the evolving of your practice.
Yeah.
Being, you could being flexible and adjustable in that. So, no, that's really good because I think this is very valuable, especially now that we're dealing with all these social issues that are detriment to kids. Right? We have record amount of unaliving oneself and younger now, mental issues, and I think it's a spiritual issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so when you have a parent, especially a mom who's the first one on the scene to teach the kids, what it is to be a person, basically, and then how to be a Christian, how to love God, it's a strong foundation for a better world. Like I 100% believe that homeschooling is gonna save America. So, but even if you don't homeschool, if you model the way you have a relationship with the Lord and how even under overwhelming, harsh circumstances, you are more than a conqueror, not because of your own strength, but through Christ who strengthens us. That's what the Bible says, right?
Yeah.
I think that's a valuable lesson to teach kids.
Reading the Old Testament all throughout the Bible talks about like delighting in the Lord, but it talks about like if you love the Lord, you'll obey his commands.
Yes.
And it's like, I want to model that I love obeying God, that there's so much joy and happiness and blessing from doing the things that I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
And I'll tell my kids, like, I do not like this, but I'm going to do it. And if I'm open, then it's easier for them to see like mom's human too. But it helps me stay accountable and it helps my attitude. Like, it's okay if I don't like this, but I'm going to do it. And then if I bring them along with me and I'm talking about it, like, it actually can be fun. It actually can be okay.
Yes.
And we'll get through it together. But, you know, I want to model to them that I'm doing what is right in the eyes of the Lord. And that brings blessing.
It does. It does. 100% it does. Because there's no way God would ask you to do something if it wasn't for your benefit. He's a loving father, so he wants the best. And what I think is so cool about what you're describing here is that a lot of moms think they have to be everything. And what you're doing is saying you don't have to be everything. God is everything.
Right.
So you're removing that pressure. You're removing all that that the way society talks to us, that you have to be this, you have to be that. And you're allowing each mom to be themselves the way God created them to be.
That's the important part. That's all we can do.
Wow, that's very poignant, I think. Well, that's a lot to take in. You know, I'm a dad, and yeah, I love my kids too, and I teach my kids too, but it's a little bit different. Maybe we'll do a dad's thing on how to teach your kids the word. But you know, like I said, the best way to teach the word is to show the word.
Yeah.
Right. So it's almost the same thing, but from a male.
Got that one done.
Yeah, perspective. Yeah. Well, hey, they always see me preaching and stuff and talking to people. But no, thank you for shedding the light on, you know, how moms can help themselves through the Lord, though. Cool. So that's it for today, you guys. Please like and subscribe, and also check out the video that YouTube's going to suggest over here. And we just want to say we love you all. Godspeed and God bless. Bye.
Bye.